I am just delighted, over the moon, as you would say, Schamet, to be interviewing my friend from New Zealand, Schamet Horsfield, who is a sacred divine feminine leader. She's an author, she's a coach, she's a healer, she's founder of the New Paradigm Priestess. She's an author and a speaker, and she has a story in the book, and she has a story to tell, and she's served the goddess just as I have. And so we're just going to have a conversation today. Welcome, Schamet.
Oh, thank you. So wonderful to be here with you.
So I'm going to start off asking how you found your way to the goddess and what difference did that make in your life?
Well, the goddess found me, as you know, and it's made a huge difference in my life. I had a very, very difficult childhood and very vulnerable to share my story in your book, Anadea. I have to say, the goddess has taught me to be vulnerable, that through our vulnerabilities, that is where we can really connect and people can understand, because a lot of us have had intense lives and intense stories. And she really found me during a time that I really needed her. And it was a very, very, very intense time when she came through. I wanted to go home, and not this being my home, but I knew as a little girl, I knew that I came from somewhere else. I knew that I incarnated on this planet to be of service. And I had a deep knowing, like, that I was an old soul and that my earth family was not necessarily my family, but I have chosen to be with them to learn what I needed to learn. And I have certainly been learning so much about trauma, about trauma stacked on top of trauma, and knowing that this is why I came here, and not being a victim to having a troubled beginning, and the reclamation and the celebration of all of it, because this planet is full of duality, the good stuff and the not so enjoyable heavy stuff. And so the goddess, she came through in a moment where I just wanted to go home. I had had enough. I was like a little girl. I locked myself in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I just don't want to be here anymore. I just had so much pain, my heart hurt. And I remember being where I had been before I came here was full of love and compassion and kindness and, of the goddess. And then she came through, Anodea, and she spoke to me and she said, you are here for a reason. You have chosen to be here. And just all this love, all this compassion, this connection, this kindness came through. And then it grounded me to the earth. It just, boom, I'm here. And I came back to my body and I found my strength again. And it was a pivotal moment for me. I would have been, let's see, I was about maybe 12 years old. So I was young. And I hadn't known exactly the full picture of what that was going to entail, but that set me upon the path. And so how has that changed my life? It's changed everything.
And you have been serving her ever since, yes. And it's been a really fundamental part of your work and mine as well. For me, I grew up with the God as male. I didn't even think to question it, but I did question. I said to my mother one time, Mommy, why is God a he? And what about all the women in the world and the girls? And she said, oh, honey, that means everybody. And so I just kind of accepted that. And, the general pronoun being he, well, that means everybody. Mankind, well, that means everybody. But it didn't quite sit right. And then in ninth grade, in an ancient history class, I studied Edith Hamilton's mythology. And I learned about gods and goddesses and realized I had not been told the whole picture. And it was an absolute revelation. And of course, I think I remember having past lives in Greece. So that really brought that to life. And I was just so hungry to study mythology and learn more. And I just continued doing that. And then in 1985 was ordained as a priestess in the Church of All Worlds and served there for decades. And here I am now, writing a book about the goddess and speaking to you and bringing her alive once again and back home. So who is the goddess to you?
I love your story, Anadea. It's so beautiful. And, you know, fast forward, you know, a little bit, like in my early 20s, 7 women and we moved into a house in Portland, and we called it the Goddess Palace. And we created a temple, and we had these goddess circles. And, so when you talk about your story, I had my version of that. And so it's amazing. And so, sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I was just saying, who is the goddess to you?
Who is the goddess? The goddess is everything. And like you, I wondered why everything was God, and everything was he. And where was the she? Where was the mother? And, because of my childhood was quite intense, I got really into religion and I wanted to find answers. So I did go to the church. My family was not religious. I went on my own to find answers. And, I would go 3 times a week. I went to many different churches. I sang in a choir called Something Higher in the prison systems. And I loved it. I actually really loved my path of religion until I got to a place where, well, where's the women? Where are the, Mary? And this isn't making any sense to me. There were so many things where I was like, there's something missing. There's more to the story here. And, the goddess to me is, the missing piece of the equation, a really important piece of the story that needs to be reclaimed, needs to be talked about. And so I am over the moon excited about your book and about this conversation, because, women are rising and we need to understand the connection of the feminine and the rest of the story. So thank you, Anadea, for your work. I'm so excited about your book.
Well, I have a quote in the book from Dion Fortune that says, "A religion without a goddess is halfway to atheism."
I love that. I agree.
Yeah. And so really we're cutting out half the Godhead, half of the divine. How can we give birth to a new age, to a new paradigm, if we don't have a goddess to give birth? It's the woman that gives birth. So when you cut women out of the picture, you can't birth anything new, and we just have too much death. And you see that going on in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been a really interesting journey, Anadea. When I came out as a priestess, I put it out there and then I brought it back, and I put it out there and then I brought it back. And because even on my YouTube channel to this day, I get these comments and these attacks, not just from men, but from women too, that, oh, there is only one God, somehow it's this bad thing to say goddess. And it's very interesting how much, oh, that's witchcraft, or that's, how much shame, blame, and so much is put on women. And I find it so sad. And so I always respond with love. I said, the goddess is love. The goddess is everything. God, goddess, the universe, the goddess is the love. She's the nurturing. She's the mother. She's the one that gives birth. She's the one that holds you. And yeah, the feminine energy. She's the femininity, the sacred divine feminine that we have, we're out of touch with, and we so need to realign with that energy. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that, criticism and fear, that comes through generations, because at one time, mentioning the goddess's name, you could be killed for that, just uttering her name, back in the time of the goddess suppression. So that went underground, and it went through the generations, and it still hangs in the air, and people don't even know why they're afraid of that. They don't even know what they're talking about. So it's really important to bring her back. And we know the goddess is cyclic, and she never dies. She dies but comes back to life, just like the plants die into the ground and they are reborn in the spring. We are having a resurgence of the goddess right now. and she is coming back from, 2,000, 3,000 years of oppression and suppression, and she is being reborn anew in a new paradigm.
Yes, I know. I love that. And, even myself in my early 20s, I had a good friend say, "Oh, Schamet, you're a witch." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And I got so defensive about it. I am a goddess. I am a goddess, not a witch, because I don't manipulate. And so I had this story, growing up in America, witches, they manipulate, they're evil, they're, like they're doing spells and they have warts and, this whole
That
thing.
was the story told about them.
Yeah. And so, but what it actually is women in total control of herself, because it is us standing in our power and not allowing men or the patriarchy to have control and power over us. And so, what does the goddess mean? The goddess is us stepping into the beautiful energy and power of being a woman. And that is important that we do that. I mean, think about it. We only got the right to vote 100 years ago.
That's right.
Right. So
the ERA still has, at least in the US, the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, still has not been passed. And it was proposed about 100 years ago, but it still has not been passed, giving women equal rights to men. Well, right. Schamet, I know we both have a call to be on very soon, and I know there's so much we could talk about the goddess, and maybe we'll pick this up and talk a little longer, but I'm really delighted to speak with you today, and I know the goddess is smiling down on both of us and within our hearts.
Thank you so much. Okay, see you soon.
See you soon.